A woman was stabbed to death in her own home, more than 40 times, with a knife from her own kitchen. The killer left evidence behind: fingerprints, hair, bloody footprints, and the weapon itself.
None of it matched the man they executed for it. Not the fingerprints, not the hair, not the DNA on the knife. None of it pointed to him.
And still, the state of Missouri strapped Marcellus Williams to a table and ended his life. This is not a story about whether a crime happened. A woman named Felicia Gayle died. That part is real. That part is horrifying. This is a story about who the system chose to blame and how hard it fought to keep that decision, even after its own evidence stopped supporting it. My name is Brian. This is ShadowDossier. And today we're talking about Marcellus Williams and an execution carried out over the objections of nearly everyone who mattered.
The prosecutors didn't want it. The victim's family didn't want it. The physical evidence didn't support it. Remember that, because it happened anyway.
Let's go back to where it started. August 11th, 1998, University City, Missouri, a quiet, upscale neighborhood. Felicia Gayle is a former newspaper reporter, respected, well-known. She's home during the day when someone breaks into her house.
What happens next is savage. She is stabbed dozens of times with a butcher knife taken from her own kitchen.
This wasn't quick. This wasn't clean. It was the kind of scene that stays with the investigators who walk into it. And here is the first detail I need you to lock away, because it matters more than anything else in this entire case. The killer left physical evidence: fingerprints, hair that wasn't hers, bloody shoe prints, and of course, the knife.
Real, testable forensic evidence, the kind that's supposed to tell you exactly who was in that room. Hold on to that, because when the state finally names its suspect, the evidence in that house will not point to him.
For more than a year, the case goes cold. No arrest, no suspect, nothing. And then everything changes. Not because of the fingerprints, not because of the knife, but because two people came forward.
And this is where I want to stop for 1 second. Because if you've seen enough of these cases, you already know what two people suddenly came forward tends to mean. If you think you already know where this is going, type it in the comments right now. Guess what these two witnesses had to gain? We'll tell you if you're right.
Witness number 1, a jailhouse informant. A man already behind bars who claimed Marcellus confessed the murder to him. Witness number 2, an ex-girlfriend who said Marcellus told her about the crime and showed her items taken from the home.
Now look closely at these two. There was reward money on the table, and the informant, a man already in trouble with the law, had every reason to trade a story for leniency.
So let's be honest about what the case against Marcellus Williams actually was. It was not fingerprints. It was not the hair. It was not the footprints. It was not the knife. It was the word of two people who both stood to gain by speaking.
The physical evidence, the prints, the hair, the shoe marks, was never matched to Marcellus at all.
In 2001, on the strength of that testimony, Marcellus Williams is convicted, and he is sentenced to death. For years, from a cell built for the condemned, he says the same thing over and over: "I did not do this."
And normally that's exactly where a case like this ends: a conviction, an appeal, a denial, silence. But not this one, because years later the technology catches up, and someone finally does the one thing that should have been done from the very beginning.
They test the murder weapon, the actual knife, for DNA. And the DNA on that knife does not belong to Marcellus Williams.
Let that land. The weapon used to stab Felicia Gayle dozens of times carries the DNA of someone else, not the man Missouri is preparing to execute.
Now, to be fair, the state would later argue about how that knife was handled over the years, that investigators and lawyers touched it without gloves, that the sample could have been contaminated.
And that's a debate worth having, but here is what you cannot argue away. The physical evidence that could have confirmed his guilt didn't just fail to point at him, it pointed away from him.
And then something almost unheard of begins to happen. The people whose job is to defend this conviction start turning against it. The prosecuting attorney's office, the very office that put Marcellus on death row, files a motion saying the conviction should be overturned. The prosecution itself says, something went wrong here.
And it's not only about the DNA. Questions emerge about how the original jury was chosen. Concerns that qualified black jurors may have been struck from the panel in a way that was deeply unfair.
Then the victim's own family makes their position known. The family of Felicia Gayle did not want Marcellus Williams put to death. Stop and think about how rare this is. The prosecutors and the victim's family, standing on the same side, asking the state not to carry out the execution.
So here's a real question, and I want your honest answer in the comments. If the prosecutor asks the state to stop, and the victim's family asks the state to stop, who exactly is the execution serving at that point? Put one word below, justice or pride. Which one do you think was really driving this? Hold that thought, because the ending is going to test it.
As the execution date approaches, the fight becomes desperate. Appeals, motions, a hearing to re-examine the conviction, a board reviewing whether to grant clemency. The case is pushed up through the Missouri courts, to the governor's desk, and all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States.
And one by one, the doors close. The stays are denied, the appeals rejected, the final plea for clemency turned down.
On September 24, 2024, Marcellus Williams is led into the execution chamber in Missouri, and by lethal injection, the state carries out the sentence.
After all of it, the DNA that didn't match, the prosecutor's own motion to overturn, the victim's family asking them to stop. It all led to this, and none of it was enough.
Marcellus Williams maintained his innocence to the very end. So let's step back, because the point of this case isn't just one man's death.
Every safeguard that's supposed to catch a mistake like this had its chance. The trial, the appeals, the state courts, the clemency board, the governor, the Supreme Court. One after another, each one looked at the doubt in this case and let the execution move forward.
And once it's done, there is no appeal left. No new evidence that can undo it. Whatever the truth was, it's final now. That's the part that should keep you up at night. Not that the system might make a mistake, but that it can be warned in advance by its own people and make it anyway.
So the next time someone tells you the death penalty is only used when guilt is absolutely certain, remember this case. Remember a knife that carried someone else's DNA.
A woman was murdered. That's true, and it matters. But the question this case forces on us isn't only who killed Felicia Gayle. It's this: when the prosecutors, the evidence, and the victim's own family are all telling you to stop, what does it say about a system that refuses to? This is ShadowDossier. If you believe Marcellus Williams should never have been executed, tell us below. If you believe the jury got it right and the system did its job, we want to hear that too. We read every comment.
And read what other people write, reply to them, argue it out. Because cases like this only change when people refuse to look away. See you in the next case.